Wait, before you skip this video, imagine this, a small boy standing alone on one of the biggest stages in the world, holding a microphone with shaking hands, about to sing a song that even the judges aren't prepared for. What happens next is so emotional that even Simon Cowell, the man famous for being tough and hard to impress, completely breaks down. If stories that touch your heart mean something to you, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, because moments like this remind us how powerful music and love can be. The bright lights of the stage glowed across the massive auditorium. Hundreds of people filled the seats, their excited whispers echoing through the room. The judges sat behind the long desk, casually chatting while the audience waited for the next contestant. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair with a neutral expression, expecting another ordinary audition. After years of judging talent shows, it took something truly special to surprise him. Then the host walked out and said, "Our next contestant is only 10 years old." The audience clapped politely as a small boy slowly walked onto the stage. His name was Daniel. He looked nervous but determined. Daniel wore a simple white shirt, slightly wrinkled, and black pants that seemed a little too big for him. His short dark hair was neatly combed, and he held the microphone with both hands like it was the most important thing in the world. Simon raised an eyebrow. "Hello there. What's your name, young man?" "My name is Daniel," the boy said quietly. "And how old are you, Daniel?" "I'm 10. The audience responded with warm applause, trying to encourage him. Simon smiled slightly. "All right, Daniel. What will you be singing today?" The boy hesitated. For a moment, the entire room became silent. "I wrote this song for my dad," Daniel finally said. Something about the way he said it made the judges sit up straighter. Simon asked gently, "Is your dad here today?" Daniel looked down at the stage floor. His small voice trembled as he answered. "No, he passed away last year." A wave of silence swept across the theater. Even the audience members in the back rows stopped moving. Daniel continued, "He used to sing with me every night before I went to sleep. He always said one day I'd sing on a big stage. So, I came here to sing for him." The audience immediately began to clap in support. Some people were already wiping their eyes. Simon nodded slowly, his expression softening. "That's very brave of you, Daniel. Take your time." Daniel closed his eyes for a second, taking a deep breath. Then the music began. The first note he sang was soft and gentle, but it carried across the entire auditorium like a whisper full of emotion. His voice wasn't loud, but it was pure, honest, filled with the kind of feeling that can't be taught. "I remember your voice in the quiet night, singing songs that made the dark feel light." The audience leaned forward in their seats. Daniel sang about memories, about his father teaching him how to ride a bike, about laughing together in their small living room, about the way his dad used to clap loudly whenever Daniel practiced singing. As the song continued, his voice grew stronger. "You told me someday I'd find my way, even if you couldn't stay." The camera showed the judges. One of them had tears in her eyes. Simon Cowell sat very still, his face serious as he listened carefully to every word. Daniel's hands shook slightly as he reached the chorus. "But I'll sing for you tonight, under these shining lights, even if you're far away. I know you hear me when I say, Dad, this song is for you." By now, the audience was completely silent. Many people were crying openly. The emotion in Daniel's voice wasn't just singing, it was a message straight from his heart. As the song built toward its final verse, Daniel looked up toward the ceiling lights. "My hero, my guide. You're still right here by my side." Halfway through that line, Simon suddenly looked down and rubbed his eyes. For the first time in years on the show, the famous judge who rarely showed emotion was visibly struggling to hold back tears. Daniel finished the final note with incredible softness. "I hope you're proud of me, tonight." The theater remained silent for 2 full seconds. Then suddenly the entire audience rose to their feet. A thunderous standing ovation exploded across the auditorium. People clapped, cheered, and some even cried while hugging the person next to them. Daniel looked shocked. He hadn't expected such a reaction. When the camera turned back to the judges, Simon Cowell was wiping tears from his face. Simon leaned forward slowly. "You know, I've been doing this for a very long time," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But that was one of the most beautiful and honest performances I've ever heard." The audience cheered again. Simon continued, "Your father would be incredibly proud of you. Not just because of your voice, but because of your heart." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Another judge added, "You didn't just sing a song. You told a story. And everyone here felt it." The host walked onto the stage and placed a supportive hand on Daniel's shoulder. Then Simon said something unexpected. "I don't normally do this, but sometimes a moment is so special it deserves something unforgettable." The audience began to murmur excitedly. Simon slowly reached forward and pressed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded from above as the entire theater erupted with cheers. Daniel covered his mouth in shock as the golden pieces rained down around him. The judges stood up clapping while the crowd roared louder than ever. For a moment, Daniel looked up at the falling golden confetti and whispered quietly, "This is for you, Dad." Backstage, the host asked him how he felt. Daniel smiled through tears and said, "I just wanted my dad to hear me sing." I think he did. Later that night, clips of Daniel's performance spread across the internet. Millions of people watched the moment Simon Cowell broke down in tears. Parents hugged their children a little tighter after hearing the song. People everywhere were reminded that love never really disappears, it stays alive in memories, in music, and in the courage to keep going even after loss. Daniel didn't just come to a talent show. He came to keep a promise. And sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest stories. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because powerful moments like this remind us that even in the hardest times, hope, love, and music can still shine brighter than any stage light. Wait, don't scroll away for a moment. Imagine a quiet, shy little boy walking onto one of the biggest stages in the world, holding a microphone almost as big as his hands. The judges expect a normal audition, the audience expects a simple performance, but what happens next leaves the entire room in tears. Even the toughest judge of them all, Simon Cowell, can't hold back his emotions. This is a story about love, loss, and a promise between a father and a son that would touch millions of hearts. And before we begin, if stories that inspire and move you mean something to you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because moments like this remind us how powerful music and memories can truly be. The lights inside the giant auditorium dimmed slightly as the next contestant's name appeared on the screen. The audience clapped politely, expecting another hopeful singer ready to chase their dream. After hundreds of auditions, the judges had seen it all: nervous contestants, big voices, funny performances, and sometimes heartbreaking stories. But no one in the room knew that the next few minutes would become one of the most emotional moments the show had ever seen. From the side of the stage, a small boy slowly walked out. His name was Lucas, and he was just 11 years old. He wore a simple blue shirt, black jeans, and old sneakers that had clearly seen better days. His brown hair was neatly combed, but his hands trembled slightly as he gripped the microphone. The huge stage lights made him look even smaller standing there alone. The audience watched quietly, charmed by his shy smile. Simon leaned forward slightly. "Hello there," he said calmly. "What's your name?" "My name is Lucas," the boy replied softly. "And how old are you, Lucas?" "I'm 11. The crowd applauded warmly. Simon nodded. "All right, Lucas. What are you going to sing for us today?" Lucas took a deep breath. His eyes briefly scanned the audience before dropping toward the stage floor. "I wrote a song," he said. Simon raised his eyebrows. "You wrote it yourself?" "Yes." "What's the song about?" For a moment, Lucas didn't answer. The pause made the entire theater grow quiet. Then he whispered, "It's for my dad." Simon smiled gently. "Is he here today?" Lucas slowly shook his head. No, he passed away 2 years ago. The mood in the room changed instantly. Some audience members gasped softly, while others placed their hands over their hearts. Lucas continued, his voice trembling slightly. My dad loved music. He used to sing with me every night. When he got sick, he told me something before he went to the hospital. Simon leaned forward. Lucas swallowed and said, he told me. One day you'll sing on a big stage. And when you do, I'll be listening. The entire theater became silent. Even the judges looked visibly emotional. Simon nodded slowly. That's a beautiful reason to sing. Take your time, Lucas. The music began softly. A gentle piano melody filled the air. Lucas closed his eyes for a second and then sang the first note. His voice was soft but incredibly clear, carrying emotion that felt far beyond his age. I still hear you in the quiet night. Singing songs that made the dark feel light. The audience leaned forward, completely drawn into the moment. Lucas sang about memories. Wait, don't scroll away yet. Imagine a quiet little boy stepping onto the biggest stage of his life, holding a microphone with trembling hands. The judges expect another ordinary audition. The audience expects a simple song. But within minutes, the entire room will fall silent, and even the famously tough Judge Simon Cowell will be wiping tears from his eyes. What you're about to hear isn't just a performance, it's a promise from a son to his late father. And before the story begins, if you enjoy emotional and inspiring moments like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us how powerful love and music can be. The bright stage lights glowed across the huge theater as the next contestant prepared backstage. The audience chatted excitedly, waiting to see who would walk out next. On stage, the judges sat behind their desk, reviewing notes from previous performances. Simon leaned back comfortably in his chair, expecting another hopeful singer trying their luck. Then the host's voice echoed through the room. Our next contestant is only 12 years old. The audience clapped politely. A moment later, a small boy slowly walked onto the stage. His name was Ethan. He wore a clean white shirt, dark jeans, and simple sneakers. His brown hair was slightly messy, and his nervous smile showed just how big this moment was for him. Standing under the massive lights, Ethan looked tiny compared to the enormous stage around him. Simon leaned forward slightly. Hello, he said. What's your name? My name is Ethan, the boy replied softly. And how old are you, Ethan? I'm 12. The audience clapped warmly to encourage him. Simon smiled. All right, Ethan, what will you be performing for us today? Ethan held the microphone a little tighter. I wrote a song. Simon raised his eyebrows slightly. You wrote it yourself? Yes. What's the song about? Ethan hesitated for a moment. His eyes lowered toward the floor. It's about my dad, he said quietly. The judges exchanged curious looks. Simon asked gently, Is your dad here today? Ethan slowly shook his head. No, he passed away last year. A soft gasp spread across the audience. Ethan continued speaking, his voice trembling slightly. My dad loved music. He used to play guitar and sing with me every night before bed. He always told me that one day I'd sing on a big stage. When he got sick, he made me promise something. The entire theater grew silent. He said, when you finally sing on a big stage, sing a song for me. Some audience members were already wiping tears from their eyes. Simon nodded softly. That's a beautiful reason to sing. Take your time. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. Then the piano music began. The melody was soft and emotional, filling the theater with a quiet calm. Ethan sang the first line. His voice was gentle but incredibly pure. I still hear your voice in the quiet night. Singing songs that made the dark feel light. The audience leaned forward in their seats. His voice carried a deep emotion that felt far older than his 12 years. He sang about memories, playing guitar with his father in the living room, laughing together during long car rides, and practicing songs late at night. The lyrics told the story of a boy learning to be brave after losing the person he loved most. You told me someday I'd find my way, even if you couldn't stay. The camera moved across the judges. One judge covered her mouth. Another wiped tears from her eyes. Simon sat still, listening carefully. As Ethan reached the chorus, his voice grew stronger. But I'll sing for you tonight, under these shining lights. Even if you're far away, I know you hear every word I say. The audience was completely silent. Some people held their hands over their hearts. Parents hugged their children sitting beside them. Ethan's voice carried pure emotion through every note. When the final verse began, his hands trembled slightly. My hero, my guide. You're still right here by my side. Simon suddenly looked down and wiped his eyes. For the first time during the show that night, the tough judge looked completely emotional. Ethan continued singing, his voice shaking slightly but never breaking. I kept the promise that I made. I'm not afraid. Then he sang the final line. Dad, this song is for you. The music stopped. The theater was silent. 1 second passed. Then 2. Suddenly the entire audience stood up at once. A massive standing ovation erupted across the auditorium. People clapped, cheered, and many wiped tears from their faces. Ethan looked shocked as he saw thousands of people standing for him. When the camera showed the judges again, Simon Cowell was wiping tears from his face. Simon leaned forward slowly and spoke into the microphone. Ethan, I've been doing this job for a very long time. The audience grew quiet again. And I've heard thousands of auditions. He paused for a moment. But that was one of the most emotional performances I've ever witnessed. The crowd erupted in applause again. Simon continued speaking. You didn't just sing a song. You told a story about love, about loss, and about keeping a promise. And I think everyone here felt that tonight. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. Another judge added, your father would be incredibly proud of you. Ethan smiled shyly. Then Simon looked at the big golden button sitting on the desk in front of him. The audience began whispering excitedly. Simon said softly, sometimes a moment like this deserves something unforgettable. He reached forward and pressed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded into the air as the crowd screamed with excitement. Ethan covered his mouth in shock as golden pieces rained down all around him. The judges stood up clapping while the audience cheered louder than ever before. Ethan looked up at the falling confetti and whispered quietly, I did it, Dad. Backstage, the host asked him how he felt. Ethan wiped tears from his eyes and smiled. I just wanted my dad to hear my song, he said. I think he heard it. That night, the performance spread across the internet and millions of people watched the moment. The video reminded everyone that love never truly disappears. Even when someone we care about is gone, their words, their encouragement, and their belief in us can still guide our path. Ethan didn't just perform on a stage. He kept a promise. And sometimes the most powerful songs are the ones sung straight from the heart. If this story touched you, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us that even through heartbreak, hope, love, and music can still shine brighter than any spotlight. Wait, before you scroll away, imagine this moment. A small boy walks onto a massive stage, surrounded by thousands of people and blinding lights. The judges think it will be another normal audition. But within a few minutes, something happens that no one expects. The audience stops breathing, the judges sit in stunned silence, and even the famously tough Simon Cowell begins to cry. This wasn't just a performance. It was a goodbye, a promise, and a tribute from a son to the father he lost. If stories that touch your heart inspire you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because moments like this remind us that music can carry emotions words sometimes cannot. The giant theater buzzed with excitement as the next contestant prepared to step onto the stage. The bright lights reflected off the polished floor, and the audience chatted eagerly while waiting for the next act. The judges sat behind their desk, ready for another performance among hundreds of hopeful singers. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, calm and observant as always. After years of judging talent shows, it was difficult to surprise him. He had seen incredible voices, strange acts, emotional stories, and unforgettable performances. But he had no idea that the next audition would become one of the most emotional moments he had ever experienced. The host walked to the center of the stage and smiled at the audience. "Our next contestant," he announced, "is just 10 years old." The audience clapped warmly as a small boy slowly walked out from backstage. His name was Noah. He wore a light gray hoodie, black pants, and simple sneakers. His dark hair was slightly messy, and his small hands clutched the microphone tightly. Standing under the huge stage lights, he looked both nervous and determined. The audience quieted as Noah reached the center of the stage. Simon leaned forward slightly and smiled. "Hello," he said. "What's your name?" "My name is Noah," the boy replied softly. "And how old are you, Noah?" "I'm 10 years old." The audience applauded to encourage him. Simon nodded. "All right, Noah, what will you be performing for us today?" Noah took a deep breath. "I'm going to sing a song I wrote." Simon raised an eyebrow. "You wrote it yourself?" "Yes." "What's the song about?" For a moment Noah didn't speak. His eyes looked down at the stage floor. Then he said quietly, "It's about my dad." The judges leaned forward with interest. Simon asked gently, "Is he here with you today?" Noah slowly shook his head. "No, he passed away last year." A soft gasp moved through the audience. Noah continued, his voice trembling slightly. "My dad used to sing with me every night before bed. He always told me that one day I would sing on a big stage in front of lots of people. Before he went to the hospital, he told me something." The entire theater became silent. He said, "When you finally sing on that big stage, sing a song for me." Many people in the audience were already wiping tears from their eyes. Simon's expression softened. "That's a beautiful reason to sing," he said quietly. "Take your time." Noah nodded and closed his eyes for a moment. The piano music.